Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and today we're going to make a raspberry cream pie. So let's get started. Now this recipe is based on my own chocolate cream pie recipe, and you can find a video to that right up here. And I've been making cream pies for years, but I've never actually tried doing what I'm going to do today. This is an experiment actually, and you're coming along with the ride. But I have a feeling this is going to turn out pretty good. Now what I have here are 2 eggs for my chickens. I have 2 cups of milk. Now you can make this vegan by using an almond milk or whatever kind of nut milk you prefer, coconut milk. It's just totally up to you. Today I'm using whole goat's milk. The key is you want your milk to be as rich as possible. So if you're making your own nut milk, like I did the other day when I made my almond milk, I cut back the water to make a much richer nut milk. And that's what you're going to want for this if you're going to do the nut milk. Cut back on your water when you're making it, and it will give you a better, richer texture and flavor. So, and if you're using dairy like I am here, whoops, make sure it's a whole milk and as healthy as you can get. Okay, and then I'm going to have 1 cup of granulated cane sugar, organic. I have about a 1/2 cup of tapioca starch, and I'll be linking to this in the description box. Okay, and then let's put in about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt at the most, maybe a little bit less. You want to be real careful with that one. Okay, let me clean up my milk mess and I'll get back to this. Okay, now we're going to blend all that in, breaking those egg yolks up. And you could blend the eggs in there first. I just didn't bother. So using a whisk works really good with this, or you can use a big fork, which is another thing I like to do when mixing stuff like this, like a big salad fork. Okay, now what I have here is a 1/2 cup of freeze-dried raspberries that I then processed in the blender until it turned into a fine powder. So if I was making a chocolate cream pie, this would be a 1/2 cup of organic cacao powder, but today it is raspberries. And you can do this with fresh raspberries, cutting back on the milk. However, I really wanted to try it with the freeze-dried and see what kind of flavor I get, because I have a feeling I'm going to get a much more intense flavor and yet nice creamy consistency with the milk as well. Now I'm guessing as much as this liquid's going to absorb, I may not have needed quite that much of the tapioca starch, but let's just see how it turns out. I can always add a little bit more other ingredients to thin it out a bit, and then just take the extra and do something else with it. Alright, so here are what the freeze-dried raspberries look like. Now these particular ones I got from Honeyville, but now that I'm switching over to, and I've got plenty of number 10 cans of stuff like this. One thing I like about Mother Earth products is that you can buy them in much smaller quantities and just try them out and use a little bit at a time. So if I have a link to those raspberries available by the time this video comes out, I'll make sure that I link to those below. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, and this isn't all the ingredients, there's 2 more ingredients you're going to add after you cook this for a bit. So I'm going to go put this on my wood stove and I'm going to cook it until it thickens up. It might take 5 minutes. If you're doing this on a conventional stove, you'll want to cook it for maybe on about, medium-low heat to medium at the most, and just keep a close eye on it and make sure you continue to you don't have to continually stir, but you want to keep checking it and stirring as it thickens. Alright, so I'll be right back when this is ready for the next step. This is now thickened up the way I want it, and this is how it should look while it's hot. About that thick, just to give you an idea. So when you're stirring it, you'll feel just a real high viscosity there. And now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter and at least a teaspoon of vanilla. And this is homemade vanilla, and you can find how I make this in a video right up here. Okay, now I'm going to stir that in. You want to do this, you don't want to do this while it's on the heat, but you want to stir in the butter while it's still warm so it will melt in there good. And obviously, if you're going with a vegan, you're going to want to leave out the butter and the topping that I'm going to put on, which means you may want to even increase the amount that you make of the filling. Okay, so while it is still warm and easy to pour, you then want to put it in your prepared pie crust. So I made this pie crust earlier in the day, and if you want to see how I make my pie crust, I have a video on that. It's probably a long video because it's one of my earlier videos, so I should probably make a new one so I can make a shorter, a more abbreviated version, but you can find that one right up here, and eventually I'll put up a new one. That one was in particular a whole wheat crust. This is pretty much half white and half whole wheat flour, home milled flour. Now what I want to do with this is let it chill and set, and while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my whipped topping. So I'm going to take 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. I've got some good Organic Valley whipping cream here. Okay, and so then I'm just going to start blending it, or mixing it. When your whipped cream starts getting to about this consistency, that is a good time to add about a tablespoon or so of sugar. You don't need very much. I'm going to put in just a tablespoon of the organic cane sugar. Blend that in real good and keep going with it. And this is when it starts thickening up a lot faster. So before it gets too thick, I'm going to add just a little bit, maybe about a teaspoon of vanilla extract to this as well. Okay, so you don't want to mix it past that point, or then it's just gonna change consistency. This is where you want it. So at this point you're gonna stop. This is one reason I like using the manual mixer rather than electric, because I feel like I have better control, but it will be faster if you use electric. But not really by that much. I found that I can get this whipped up just about as fast with the manual as I can on electric. Now I'm going to put the whipped cream in the refrigerator to keep it chilled while I'm waiting for my pie to finish setting up. And when it is all set, I will come back and show you the next step. All right, the raspberry filling is all set. So now I'm just going to take my whipped cream and go ahead and blob that on there and spread it around. Now what you can do with the top of your pie is totally up to you. Usually when I'm making cream pies, I'm making a couple at a time. So I find it helpful to find a way to mark that. And one thing you could do is you could mix some of the freeze-dried raspberries into your whipped cream. You can get some fresh raspberries and sprinkle them on the top. I think what I'm going to do is simply crumble some of the freeze-dried raspberries along the top of the pie. Since that's the nice thing about freeze-dried is you can just crumble them. They're very crispy. And that way we will know that this is the raspberry cream pie, because I'm going to be making a chocolate cream pie as well. And what I like to do with that is on the top is either I'll drizzle some of my homemade chocolate syrup, and you can find a recipe to that right up here, or even put some raw cacao, the cacao nibs on top. I'll just do a couple more berries. All right, so there you have it. There's the raspberry cream pie, and I forgot to say I did taste the filling, and it tastes really good. I might even consider next time putting more of the freeze-dried raspberries in, possibly even up to a cup, just to get a really good, strong raspberry flavor. But I will be doing more recipe videos down the road on other ways that you can make some fruit cream pies, from orange cream to pineapple, whatever it is that sounds good to you, and that you can use the fresh fruit in. I just wanted to experiment with some freeze-dried stuff so that not only to try it for myself, but to show you other ways that you can use the freeze-dried foods in your food storage to make something delicious. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that maybe you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.